Hello and welcome to my video for my game world for Game Asset Pipeline. Here is my mood board where I planned out the world and some of the textures that I would use in it. As you can see, there's multiple pictures of different tree types that could inspire trees to be in my world. There's a little shack that I'm also going to implement into my world, as well as a waterfall and some wildlife. Here is my versioning on GitHub, where I've got the first stages of whiteboxing, and it then moves into texturing, and then importing different models and using different software such as Houdini. Here's a screenshot from each of the different versions. So here's version 1, where I began development with a terrain, a basic tree shape, basic deer shape, a basic building and log pile. In version 2 I began to change the terrain with the terrain tool from Polybrush. I then changed the tree prefab and changed the terrain further. In version 3 I changed the terrain to add a mountainous terrain around it so there was no empty space from Unity. I then began texturing the terrain so that it had snow on the top of the mountains, some water and some grass. I then added some grass prefabs and some flowers so that the ground wasn't just flat. I also changed the deer prefab, updated that. In this version I began to add a particle system for the waterfall and added a placeholder for a character as well as an idle animation. I then added a wooden shack, like a hunter's shack model, which I made myself in Maya. I also used a Unity lighting, I believe it's a point light inside the building. Here are my different versions of assets. So I've got the first tree that I started with, which was a basic cylinder and a cone, which has now been changed to a cylinder with spheres on it, which will eventually be upgraded to a tree that will be randomly generated using Houdini. Here's my deer, which originally started out as cylinders that has now been a model made in Maya, which will also be further improved in the future. This is how the shack's changed. Originally it was just a cube made using Pro Builder. However, I've since made a model using Maya. I also updated the inside of the hunter's shack with a light on the ceiling which has a point light inside of it that has a yellow glow to it, as well as a little desk in the corner. So far, the tools that I've used in the development of my world is Pro Builder for whiteboxing, Polybrush for the prefab scatter tool and the terrain tool, the Unity's particle system for the waterfall. I've used Mixamo for the animations of my character. I've used Unity's lighting system for the yellow light within inside the shack. I've made a custom skybox using Photoshop, and custom models such as the hunter's shack, the grass and the flowers, and the deer in Maya. The future plans for my world include using Houdini to create randomly generated trees. I will also be using a shader graph to make my own water, as I'm currently using a placeholder. I will also be using some form of sound software to add birds singing in the background, as well as the water sounds, as currently there's no sounds. So that's the development of my world so far. Thank you for watching.